Hey everybody, welcome, another hour of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We have a lot to talk about, from the Detroit Auto Show to the ZR1 Corvette pricing to you name it, we got it. Right, Fred?
Yeah, that's right, Les. We do have a lot, and no shortage of stories from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. We're going to have the latest from BMW, Honda, Continental, and more. A lot of tech going on.
A whole lot of tech. And Chrysler. We got a lot of news about Chrysler. So things are really hopping. Got some great talking tech. And as usual, I'm promising not to sing.
That's good. Also, we're going to talk about some Lexus G550s melting in the sun. Imagine that. Your big, brutal SUV melts.
I would be angry. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about this. And then how much will it cost to keep Google Maps and navigation in your GM car? As you know, GM is moving away from Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Looks like another subscription type deal.
You know my feelings about these subscriptions, but I think the only thing to do is just get rid of it and use your phone. But you bought the vehicle initially for the convenience of having it on the screen. That's not fair.
Yeah. Plus, we'll have a couple of deals for you if you're the vehicles you probably wouldn't think of. But if you need a good, reliable vehicle, at least in the case of one, you might think of the other one. But in at least in the case of one of these are good, reliable vehicles that might make a great first car for someone in your family just driving, or a second car for you. But we've got some deals for you, right?
Absolutely. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. So listen up. Yeah.
And then if you do want to spend some money, you can buy the Nissan NX350 F Sport Handling All-Wheel Drive Edition. I will have an at-the-wheel review of that vehicle, which was in that cool copper crest color. I like that. I like that a lot.
I do like that color. I think it would look good on some sports cars.
Yeah.
But you have to have some angles to create the shadow lines.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's all coming up here on Cruise Control, and we are glad you're along for the ride. Let's jump right into some of these consumer electronics shows. Let's go over to BMW and see what they had up for the show, and it involves basically a screen everywhere in the vehicle. The panoramic iDrive. So panoramic vision, a head-up display concept, was newly developed by BMW for projecting content that it reflects visible information from A pillar to A pillar. Sounds like a theme, doesn't it?
It sounds like a bus. I mean, there's a certain, well, of course your passenger can look at all of that, but at some point you're scanning an awful lot of real estate.
Yeah, you are. I think there is a point where you basically can't deal with anything else, right?
That's right. You're not supposed to be looking at a TV set.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be driving. Although, BMW is pretty cautious about how they do these things.
Well, there is a 3D head-up display. It now shows integrated navigation and automated driving information directly in the driver's field of vision. So this is going to be like a 3D thing right in front of you. And it will, I guess, give you a three-dimensional look at that turn that's coming up. I don't know. It could be distracting. I'd have to use it.
It also could. There are many people
Looks like they're editing there. When I look at that software, it looks like color correction software.
It does. There are many, many people, myself included, who get bad signals to their inner ears when they're seeing 3D images in space. And, so it could literally be a dizzying experience. I want to look at it, but I withhold judgment.
Yeah, and then they have a new multifunction steering wheel, which almost looks like a steering wheel on upside down.
It does. It's a little bit like a Formula One steering wheel.
Yes. They have relevant buttons are illuminated to highlight available functions, and it serves as the primary physical control. Remember, people want buttons. So they're saying, let's put all of the buttons, just like you just said, on like a Formula One steering wheel. If you ever looked at it, it's like the upper console of an airplane in on a steering wheel, right?
On a wheel, that's right. And you'll learn, you'll get muscle memory on where the things are. But it's a very complicated steering wheel.
So I guess iDrive just remains complicated no matter what version.
Well, you know what? I think BMW has they of course had a very bad experience with the original iDrive.
Yeah, they just overdid it, really, right?
They overdid it, and in fact, at the time, they were buying back something like 50 a month. Sending them back to Germany at the port of Baltimore. It was just sad to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty wild. Well, what do you think? Let us know, because we think some of these things in BMW might be a little bit too complex. People are not really paying attention to driving to begin with, but this is the CES show. They're just trying to wow people, right?
Exactly. And they do. As we've said before, the automotive industry has taken over the Consumer Electronics Show, where they never even used to attend it.
Yeah. And what's also interesting, too, Detroit Auto Show this week, right? Used to be one of the biggest shows ever. Now they had no press conferences. Normally, you and I would run between press conferences at the other shows.
quite literally run.
Quite literally run. They'd be back to back. And this year at Detroit Auto Show, it's funny. I was reading an article about it. They said, well, if you go to download list of press conferences, it just says 404 missing link.
0.
Exactly.
Wow.
It does. I went there last night, and literally at New York, it used to be 2 packed days from like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah. And again, we couldn't go to all of them because there were some that were overlapping.
Exactly. So, I think it's just the purpose of them have changed, and the purpose is good for auto shows. If you're looking for a vehicle, to get into a lot of different vehicles, sit in them, and see if it's right for you without somebody standing there with an order pad say, let me write this up, are you going to buy it today?
Right.
I mean, that's the benefit of it. Sit in 5 different CUVs and see how they fit, and then narrow it down, right? Then drive the ones you like.
And this is saving millions and millions for the car companies, not having these very expensive press conferences and reveals and flashy, and they'll hire famous rock bands.
Yeah, we saw Kiss one year, didn't we?
We saw Kiss live in the morning at breakfast.
Yeah, a little early for that, but yeah, it's they've just gone a different way, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I do miss some of those reveals. I do miss seeing everyone, but it's just a different game now. But hey, they're still worth going to if you're looking for a car. That's primarily what they're for, to sit in those cars and watch them. Now, Doesn't mean over at CES they didn't have big reveals. Honda revealed a couple of prototypes, the Honda Zero Saloon, which means sedan, and the Honda Zero SUV prototype. These are all electric vehicles, and if you remember the Honda robot Asimo, he was beloved. He looked like a little astronaut walking around.
Very cute.
Well, he was retired, but he's come back as an operating system for cars. And Honda is revealing this, or did reveal this at CES, and it was two vehicles. One is a saloon, and one is a SUV. And these are all electric vehicles, and they will have leadership, they say, in level 3, eyes-off automated driving. And these are all electric vehicles. They're at the early stages of development, but they sure look futuristic. And driving this all is this Asimo operating system, which will be equipped, both vehicles will be equipped with this, and some of it was developed using that robot. So the learning, the vision, the automation, if you will, they do look a little strange, the design. Some of them look like they were rear-ended, don't they?
Well, yes, and the SUV, maybe it's me, but the SUV looks to me like a very, very large version of the original Insight.
Maybe there are some lineage there. What do you think?
Maybe so, but remember the Insight had that box rear end.
Yes.
Low profile, of course. It's cool. It's very cool. And the Asimo robot technology is quite well proven. Been around a long time.
Yes. And it's interesting to see that automakers are developing their own OS, their own operating systems for vehicles. BMW did the same. Now, I think some of this might be a reaction to people like Google and others Apple trying to control cars and the data flow. So I think manufacturers might be trying to get ahead of this. This kind of is the discussion we had about GM, and they're wanting to do away with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. They don't want Apple or Google or someone else to have control of all that data, and this might be something that's driving this as well. Or it could just be they want control over their own operating system, right?
That's true. Plus, if you're using broadband software like that, it's susceptible to being hacked.
Yeah.
Your own isn't as easy.
And remember, hacking an electric car means you could potentially brick it remotely.
You could.
Yeah. So
there's some real fears out there, but be sure that the car companies have very large staffs of cybersecurity people. I know Ford at the last count had several hundred.
Yeah.
So,
Cybersecurity is a big thing.
That's it.
Yeah. Let's go over to Continental, because they revealed a lot of different technology. They didn't come out with their own OS, but they did come out with some interesting things that I think, since they are a supplier to so many manufacturers, that we will see. One, and I think this has some uses, car windows can turn into customizable displays. Remember, we heard that they were going to go with electronic window stickers for cars, right? And how would they do that? This might be one way. There are pixels in the glass. So the glass is darkened on the inside. You don't see the sign or message on the inside, but you do see it on the outside, right? And one of the uses might be a window sticker for dealers.
I see a wonderful reason for getting one of these. It's, and that's to put a nice photograph of a passenger in your car so you can use the hot lanes.
I like that. You could
Yeah.
have video. You could have video. They could be moving
That's right.
around. They could be
They'd
drinking
never know.
coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
maybe looking
yeah.
at their phone since they're a passenger.
You
I
go
like
through so fast, it would be impossible to detect.
Yeah, we could bring in some of BMW's 3D
I'm
head-up display
patenting this
stuff.
thing.
Well, Continental says it might be good for Lyft drivers, that they would have a sign with your name
Right.
on it, maybe even your picture, which would be weird, maybe. But advertising, someone said you can put your favorite sports logo on there. I know that you would be first in line.
Yeah.
I also see this as for race cars, for sponsors and things,
Yeah.
that the
They
first 10
change all
laps
the
go to
time.
you. Yeah. Or I also think, too, buses. I think, like we're going through this whole thing with congestion pricing and that. I think MTA, who runs all the transit stuff in New York, I think they should slather everything with ads and make as much money as possible to offset their constant
Well,
budget.
yeah. Don't
Problems.
they do that there?
Not that much. They were going to sell naming rights to subway stations, which I thought was a great idea. But think of this: you could get, instead of a cardboard ad slipped into some tracks on the side of a bus, you could have rotating ads all the time.
Rotating ads would make a lot of sense. Our bus systems have ads all over them, a lot for school systems and all sorts of things. Our subway is pristine. There are no ads. There are no graffiti on it.
That's good.
It was very well designed that way. Not cheap. It's way over budget, but it works. My feeling is, if you have a transportation system and you can throw ads on it to help pay for it,
Yeah.
add away.
Yeah. And I think it just might be a way around it. But we're just talking about this technology. Other technologies,
That's
I thought it would be cool for the drag strip. You could put your dial in and your class that you're running on this. Instead of writing in a shoe polish, you could do it electronically. I think it's a lot of great uses of this technology. Maybe not all are automotive. Also, they showed changing e-ink. Remember, we talked about this with BMW, with paint changing colors. Continental is showing it now with interior applications, where you could have a design on your dash and kind of have that change colors or patterns, and it could be a way for another subscription thing for car makers to say, hey, you have that big screen in there, let's change the look of that screen and put a pattern on the dash. What do you think of that?
It makes sense. Again, if it's not, as long as it's not distracting,
Yeah.
that's fine. And I think people like, to change the colors, not the upholstery, but the details around the dash. Just kind of change them periodically.
Yeah, it's better than putting stick on wood grain, that's for sure. And one more thing from Continental. They also showed a face authentication camera invisibly hidden behind the display. Just like your phone, you can open it up by looking at it. This would allow you to log on to your car or log into certain features, maybe even start your car. What do you think of that? I think it's our cars become our phones, basically. Our phones become our cars. One or the other.
They're becoming that more and more and more all the time. So, I always think about what happens if you lose your phone.
You're stuck.
That's it.
We won't think about that, but we will think about this. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson, we will be right back after this.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We're glad you are along for the ride. We've been taking a look at some of the developments that came out of CES. Now we'll take a look at another development that did not come out of CES, but it involves the GX550, which is the large SUV from Lexus. It's a beautiful machine. I have an at-the-wheel review coming up of it soon, Les, but here is a weird problem, and I'm sure Lexus being Lexus will get on this, but they are melting in the sun, which is kind of weird for such a large, robust vehicle, but the mirror caps, which is the plastic piece that goes over those large mirrors, is melting in the sun. Some of the side trim is bubbling and melting. And there was a couple of people that said it was 54 degrees outside, and he touched this trim, and it was so hot it would burn your hand, as if it was absorbing more heat. And
tremendous absorption, yeah.
Really melting. What a weird problem, isn't it? This was, by the way, on the Lexus GX550 owners and enthusiasts group on Facebook.
This is disturbing, mainly from a business point of view, that in this day and age, any car company other than Tesla could possibly have a component that would, a simple component that would fail so terribly. This material just has no resistance to the sun's infrared.
Yeah. This is from an article in The Drive, and the one owner's in Arizona, so obviously he's going to get a lot of sun. Others have been, as I said, 54 degrees. That's not trim melting heat.
No, in fact, it's quite cool.
There are a lot of theories. They were saying, did he park near a window that, where the sun was being angled into it? But I think there's just something wrong with the supplied material. Now, I'm sure Lexus will make good on this. I mean, if these things are tested, it's not like they just say, hey, make it out of plastic and we'll see what happens. These things are brutally tested in heat and cold and everything else, right?
They are. So it's got to be in the supply chain somehow. The producer of this thing changed materials.
Yeah,
and they thought it was okay, but it turns out it's not. It's really ugly.
It is, and the other thing I would wonder is if the same manufacturer, the same supplier, made this bad batch, did it go into other vehicles? I believe those are the same side view mirrors that go on Land Cruiser and some other Toyota vehicles. So
I think they'll see a lot of these. This reminds me of when in the late 80s when GM had just gone to base coat, clear coat.
Oh, yeah.
And the clear coats would just bubble up in the sun.
Yeah.
Man.
A major problem. It's like I always said with electronic door releases on electric vehicles, it seems like they always felt they had to have an electronic door release, and that's creating a lot of problems. Yeah. I mean, some of these things work on a custom car or a low-volume car, but when people start using them and banging them, maybe not so much, right?
Well, and like when you get these nasty snowstorms and it ices up, these things don't work because they can't push their way open.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, don't put in too many gadgets.
Tell that to the people at CES, right?
Well, that's right. CES is all about gadgets.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see, but I'm sure this will be a major issue over at Lexus, and I don't. Knowing them, they're not going to say, "Hey, that's not our problem." They're going to say, "Bring it in, and we'd like to get those mirrors and other parts off your vehicle. We'll put new parts on, and we'll look at what's going on."
You just bring up another thing. What are there other trim parts that are using that same material?
Well, some of the side trim was bubbling too, and the B-pillar trim. There's some pictures of it bubbling and twisting. So, as I say, they'll want those parts back to analyze them, and I would gladly give them back and get new. And I'm sure they'll make it right. I think they will, but
Lexus isn't going to stonewall that. They're going to fix you.
No. Well, you and I on Cruise Control have talked about GM and their what we think is a poor idea of getting rid of Android Auto on Apple CarPlay. Let's face it, these screen mirroring apps are available in base models all the way up to high-end models, which even have their own navigation, and people love it. You can set your destination on your phone and then link your phone to the car, and it's all there. All your stored locations are there. They stay in the phone. You were bringing up before what happens if you lose your phone. Well, that's a problem. But, GM we feel is doing this, so they say they're doing it for distraction, to limit distraction. They also say they're doing it to control your data, so it's not out there to be used by other people. We feel they're doing it to make money with subscriptions.
Yes.
So, interesting article from GM Authority, right? The Google Maps now comes through OnStar. So, if you have a new vehicle, and many of them are electric, that does not from GM, that does not have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the Google Maps ability comes from OnStar, right? Well, the good news is you buy your vehicle and you get 8 years of OnStar for most of these vehicles. But what happens when it 8 years passes, right?
Well, you get to pay.
You pay up.
You don't get it for free anymore. It shuts off.
Yeah. $14.99 a month is the minimum that would give you things like remote key fob, mobile map app, that's all they call it, and remote personalization. So that is the bare minimum. And then it can go as high as $52.99 a month for a number of different things. By the way, Google Assistant and things like that, these come in other vehicles for the price. So
that's right.
I wouldn't feel too good about this. Would you?
No. Especially if I'm paying like for Super Cruise in these premium plans, that's the $52, $53 a month app. Now, how often are you using it? I doubt that it's more than, let's say, a couple dozen times a year. And you suddenly go, well, wait a minute, this was free for the last 8 years.
It came with my vehicle. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beyond irritating. You sort of feel a little bit betrayed in a way, or you figure, well, now should I think about selling the car?
Yeah, before 8 years. Maybe it's a way to create more sales. Sell it before this stuff expires, and I'll just get another one with a fresh subscription. What do you think of that?
Pretty clever. It's pretty clever. I don't know. Again, I just don't like subscriptions in cars. It's bad enough on your TV.
Yeah, and I remember when major software companies went to that model, Adobe being one of them off the bat, And
Yeah.
it was unsettling. I didn't like it. I thought, no, I'd rather every couple of years spend a large amount of money and know I'm good for a couple of years. But the industry doesn't see it that way. But I don't.
No.
I just think Android Auto and Apple CarPlay have become commodities. You expect it to be there. It's like your windshield wiper, or your rear defroster. I think they have to be there. There has to be a level of that. But the problem is, once you go beyond that, a lot of these other things, like you don't really need turn-by-turn navigation if you have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and that would be something that would be part of the $52.99 a month plan.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things you get that with if you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You can say, "Hey Google,"
that's right.
Do whatever, HD streaming. I don't really need HD streaming in the car.
Don't care.
Don't need it. It's when am I going to watch it? I'm not going to watch it going down the highway. And if I really wanted to watch something, I'd just bring out a tablet and connect my my phone to have service. But I really don't need it. But maybe you do. Maybe other people do. I don't know. Remote key fob. Wait a minute. Is that the key fob for opening the doors, and you're going to have to pay for that?
Well, that's where I guess the phone opens the doors.
I guess so. I don't know. It's
that now. I mean, if they were going to charge me for my own key fob, I'm going to show them how quickly I can break into the car.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. People said if you're going to be charged for heated seats and you had them before, people will find a way around it. So
you betcha.
Hey, we hope you are enjoying Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We will be right back, so stay tuned. More coming up. We're going to tell you about some great deals, a couple of vehicles you may or may not have thought of. So stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred and I are now going to tell you where you can get good deals on a couple different vehicles. There are some good deals out there, and an awful lot of people. How many emails do we get a week from people saying, where are the best deals, and do you know how
do I have to spend $50,000 for a new car? No, you don't.
No, you don't. And you get a good car. So, two different cars right now, both very good. Chevy Malibu, which is no longer made.
Yeah, they made a 2025 model, which they started making the end of the year, end of 2024, and they've already stopped making it. So it's got to be one of the shortest model year runs in the history.
Very short run, but it's of course a continuation, a carryover model from years of building them.
Never a bad idea. They know what they're doing.
That's right. And they have 7,000 of them on dealer lots. You can get a real good deal on these things. Steep discounts.
Yeah. One was a good idea, I thought, for a first car. Some of these are loaner cars from the dealers, right? And they have low mileage, and some, there's one in Florida from a dealership, $17,000 for a low mileage 2024 Chevy Malibu that was, a loaner car. I don't think that's a bad deal. That's a great first car, isn't it?
It's a heck of a price. It's it doesn't have much in the way of options, but it's a great first car. It's a very, very solid, good driving car.
Even the base model, though, I looked at this last night, has heated seats, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Pretty good. I mean, what a great first car. Gets 38 miles to the gallon. Is it the fastest thing out there? No. Is it the most exciting thing out there? No. But when you push the start button, or I don't even know if it has a push to start button in the base model, it goes bang and starts, right?
And it will for many, many, many years. It's not going to break.
Yeah.
Terrific deal. Safe, very high safety rating. It's just great.
Yeah, comes from GM Authority. There are 7,000 Chevy Malibu dealers out there on lots. Most are 2025 models. 12% are 2024 Chevy Malibus. Approximately 840 cars in total. It's I think it's a good price, and you can get dealer discounts of $4,000 to $5,000, and even get a brand new one for $21,000 to $22,000.
Yeah, that's just compared to what most people are paying, you could buy two of them.
Yeah, and I bet the dealers would be glad to do some dealing with you. You just go in and be aggressive. Said, hey, I want the new one for $17,000. What are they gonna? Yeah, they might say, okay, I want to move it, right?
December and January are the best months to buy a car.
Yeah.
Nobody has any money,
and they'll say, "Don't you want a giant extended length Suburban with all these options?" No, I'd like this one here for. I'll give you $20,000, brand new car.
That's it. That's perfect. And Ford Escape, same thing.
Ford Escape,
quite the same thing.
Yeah. Now, there's been some talk that this is going to be eliminated. I hate that because Ford basically just builds big trucks now, in the Mustang and the Mach-E. But this is a great vehicle. It's almost like a forgotten vehicle in a sense. It comes in standard, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid models, all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. They range in price from about $28,150 up to the plug-in hybrid at $38,400. The good news is for 2025, the whole lineup is seeing price decreases, right?
That's right. As the least decrease is $1,395, and you can get $2,100 off of some of the trim levels. Not to mention dealing with the dealer.
Yeah.
which you want to do. Go in at the end of the month and whatever the sticker says, just take $5,000 off it and say that's what I'm willing to spend.
Yeah.
You'll probably come close to it.
Yeah, they'll be like, have a free cup of coffee, let me talk to my manager. They'll scratch their head, put on a show, and you'll probably get a deal. And the way to do it's just go in and you don't care. Here, you want to sell these things? I'm here with some money. It's been sitting on the lot. So, and I just think this is an example. So many people talk to us and say, oh, I've got to spend $50,000 now for a car. No, you don't. Unless you want some specific model that is so popular that, you're just dead set on that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to spend that much money. And there are cars that are available in the low 20s. There are plenty of cars available in the low 30s, right?
Plenty of them. And they're all good, and they're all, even if they discontinue it, federal law is the manufacturer has to continue with making parts and supporting it for a minimum of 7 years.
Right.
Not to mention your initial warranty and all that. So, it's not a problem. And yeah, I think the majority of new vehicle buyers could get something perfectly suiting their needs for certainly less than 40,000.
Yeah, I do think so. I do think so. But let's move over to something that probably would not go for that money, but is very cool. Let's go over to Alfa Romeo. This is a brand that, well, we're not quite sure what will happen with them in the future in the U.S., but they have a new lineup, new high-end lineup. This is if you don't want to buy the Chevy Malibu demo car.
If you have some spare money,
you can buy an Intensa Special Series for 2025. You can get this Intensa Special Series on the Tonale, the Stelvio, or the Giulia. What do you? So this involves a couple of different things: 20-inch black alloy wheels, gloss black moldings, dark Imron accents on the exhaust tips. This is on the Tonale. It's an appearance package, but it's a nice package for Tonale.
it is.
$44,495. That is the plug-in hybrid version. There's going to be a less expensive version, as we told you. That's not plug-in hybrid, and it starts at $44,495. And that is for the non-plug-in hybrid version. The plug-in hybrid version is $54,495 for the Tonale Intensa. And then Stelvio gets the same thing. It's kind of a best-of package with some appearance items. Stelvio Intensa is $55,395. And the Giulia Intensa is $49,995. Pretty cool stuff, and really a nice package, and makes ordering it easy, don't you think?
It makes ordering it very easy. And again, we're not talking about a
inexpensive
a loss leader, or what they used to call them,
doorbuster, traffic builder.
Traffic builder, yeah. Stripped out, economy version.
I like the black with the gold wheels. It kind of reminds me of the Trans Am of 1977, which is okay.
I don't think that was their intent.
No, I don't think they were like, hey, but let's make this like the Smokey and the Bandit car. Do you think?
I don't think. Somehow, I don't believe the Italians care much for Smokey and the Bandit.
You know what the name Intensa reminds me of, though? I have an espresso machine, and I think that sounds like this is the new Intensa pod for intense coffee. Yeah. What do you think?
It might be. I mean, it certainly means intense.
Yeah. All right.
Intense whatever. Intense flavor, intense color.
Well, we're going to have, here comes a segue, an intense at-the-wheel review when we come back on Cruise Control. We will have an at-the-wheel review of the 2025 Lexus NX350 F Sport Handling all-wheel drive. Need almost a blast of oxygen to get that all out.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. That will be coming up next on Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We are taking you on a ride around the automotive industry. It's at the wheel time, and we are going to take a look at this lovely Lexus NX350 F Sport Handling all-wheel drive model. It's a 2025 model, and it came in this incredible color called Copper Crest. Just almost a custom paint job on this thing from the factory. It was an additional step-up price on the paint of $595, but I think it might be worth it. And we'll talk a little bit about this vehicle. Of course, the NX has a lot of options. You can get the 250, which has a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine and 8-speed automatic that puts out 203 horsepower, or you can get the 350H, which has a hybrid drivetrain. You can get the 450H, which has a plug-in hybrid drivetrain. The options are kind of endless on this. Ours had a 275 horsepower turbocharged engine, which did a nice job of moving this little crossover around. And Lexus quality everywhere. I mean, on the inside, leather interior, a lot of black. They do offer a two-tone option in here, which I would recommend because it breaks up the black. But great high-end binnacle gauges there, the large screen for navigation. There's an eco or normal knob for your drive modes, a nice big wireless phone charger, and a couple of more controls on the console. There's a mix of buttons. You have push touchscreen for heated seats, heated steering wheel, then knobs for HVAC, and then you get individual buttons for the defrosters front and back, and the volume knob for the radio. So kind of a mix and match when it comes to controls. Some people like that, some people don't, but stitching all around, a lot of piano black trim all around. We had an incredible stereo system added to our vehicle, which just packed a punch. The Mark Levinson sound, 17 speakers, 1,800 watts. Out back, it was a little tight for leg room for passengers. Seats do fold down, not exactly a flat surface, but you do get treated to some air vents and a 12-volt plug and a couple of USB-Cs. The USB-Cs are new for this year. Quality around, all around in the interior. However, I would recommend going for the two-tone interior just because it's just a lot of black, black, black on top of black. Out back, good storage, and of course it's a Lexus, so it's nicely finished off. They did a great job. They don't slack off at the back of the vehicle. They cover it up nice. You've got some hooks for hanging things and your 12-volt connection. No spare tire in the back, just an inflator kit and some storage. And of course you get the omnipresent first aid kit. I found their iteration of this panel to cover the cargo area was a little bit clumsy. Probably would have rather seen a roll-up one, or maybe I would go without it. It's kind of like this big panel that folds in half, and then you have to like store it somewhere. I don't know. It didn't seem great for that, but it does the job when it's in place of closing it up. Under the hood, we have that drivetrain, 275 horsepower, and it did a nice job of moving us around. What can you say? I find it interesting. The battery is right next to the engine. I wonder about the heating of that battery, starter battery when it's in there. Of course, the big grille up front, and just a good job. All-wheel drive. F Sport. F Sport is mainly a like a looks type of trim level as opposed to a lot more power. You do get 275 horsepower, I guess, which is the step up.
What does this weigh? Do you know?
I don't know what it weighs. It does get pretty good mileage though, up in the upper 30s for an all-wheel drive vehicle.
Quite good.
Yeah, this
Quite
is
good.
Smallest of their lineup of crossovers. I was just taken with the paint. I just thought they did a great job. Not a lot new for 2025. As I said, it has 4 powertrains, including 2 hybrid electric models. Copper Crest is the new thing, and that's why we're seeing it here. There's also a new interior color option called Macadamia, available in the luxury grade, and 2 USB-Cs were added to the front console box. Intuitive parking assist and power back door are now standard. And the starting price for the NX is $41,765. But that's not what our test model went for. Our test model had the copper crest paint at $595. It had the F Sport Handling luxury package for $2,865. And then it had a lot of accessories, including the panoramic glass roof, panoramic view mirror, wireless charger, and cross-traffic alert, large charge assist, lane change assist, I should say, $4,015 for all of that. The MSRP on this F Sport Handling model was $49,335. So the total as tested was rather expensive for a small crossover, $57,985, which is a bit pricey. I've often said, though, some of these factory colors, like Copper Crest, I think that would be a great on an older car that you were refinishing in that. I think it's just a good look. And of course, you'd have to spray the tinted clear coat, but that's not a problem. But I think that would be a great way to update an older car. Imagine that on a C3 Corvette. How would that look?
I'm not sure how that would look on a C3 Corvette. It would look great on a Dodge Charger.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
I think. And I think it would look really good on a GTO.
Oh, that's another great idea. Start building, Les.
Let me clear some space in the garage, Fred, and we'll
do think it needs black wheels, though. Chrome wheels would look weird on this, I think. I just don't think it looks as good. Yeah. I think black wheels set it off. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments. I also think I would go for the two-tone interior, even though I like black interiors. But I think I would because it is a little bit too dark. F Sport Handling model, by the way, has active variable suspension and front and rear performance dampers that are exclusive to the F Sport family. Dark graphite aluminum ornamentation, bolstered sport seats, sport steering wheel, aluminum pedals, and scuff plates are all what sets it apart. So it's a little bit of a mix of some things like active variable suspension for handling and some of the things that are for looks as well. And these are exclusive 20-inch black alloy wheels, as they say, that are framed by color key-over fenders.
Framed.
6 USB ports. USB ports, as I said, are the new cup holders.
Yeah. I have forgotten to count cup holders anymore.
Yeah, it's just about really. It's about USB ports.
Yeah.
So wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto capability, which worked well. Head-up display is available. As I said, Mark Levinson sound, which something like 1,800 watts. By the way, it's funny. If you get the 1,800 watt stereo, you can't get the upgraded LED headlights. I wonder if that means there's just not enough power left in the vehicle.
That's an odd.
It's an odd scenario.
This or that.
Yeah.
You can't get the LED if you have the 18. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with interference.
It might have something to do with interference. Yeah. There's some reason for it. It's really not power because the LEDs should take less power. Full range of the price, amazing range of the prices. The NX350, the base model, $41,965, and if you go all the way up to the NX450H F Sport Handling, that's $63,480. So not only is Lexus a full range manufacturer, and we don't see the full range manufacturers that much anymore. Major companies like Ford and others just don't build the full range of vehicles. But not only is Lexus a full range manufacturer, certain vehicles in their lineup have many, many, many options. 4 drivetrains and a price range from $41,965 all the way up to $63,480. So that is a big range. NX350 F Sport Handling. If you're looking for a smaller crossover with Lexus quality and no limitation on your options and things like that, it might be the one for you. So we hope you've enjoyed this at the wheel review of the NX350 F Sport Handling all-wheel drive. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye. Let me